live. We are live. I think I always pretty much underestimate how loudly I'm going to have to speak on these lives. And then I start to speak and I'm like, I got to talk louder. All right. So, blam, happy Thursday, December 10th. Today, wrong side, blam. Funny on these cameras. Things are on the opposite side. So listen, I'm happy to be here today. Really, honestly, truly. Sometimes I say that, and it's not that I don't mean it, but some days I really appreciate that I can do these videos. I can do these lives. We are concurrently streaming right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So check out any of those channels to get this content whenever it becomes available. And I haven't been able to do a live sitting in front of the computer, sitting in front of the phone like this for a few days, just due to personal obligations, a lot of work, a lot of cooking. It's been a good month so far, 1/3 of the way through the month. Really good month so far. Gratitude, right? Basking in gratitude. When wins happen, I used to be the type of person that I would get way too excited about certain wins, and I wouldn't get as excited enough about. I think that really learning to see as beneficial in the midst of the challenge, right? It's I don't want to say it's easy to do it after, but hindsight 2020, that kind of concept. But in the midst of it, not hindsight, but insight, right? In the time, not foresight, not hindsight, insight, is in the moment awareness of why that challenge can be serving you, even though in that moment it may not look like it. And you might hypothesize about some of the reasons it could, and you might be wrong. But even just to do that, there's benefit because it puts your mind into a state of receptivity. It puts your mind to a state of how could this be beneficial? Yeah, this isn't fun. Yeah, this kind of sucks. But how could this be beneficial? And once you start thinking that way, it might not be what you thought of exactly. That comes into place. Comes into play, but it could be something else that still can be beneficial. So, with that said, I was in one of those periods, and it wasn't by any means a super hard period. It wasn't like I did have a few weeks ago, probably about a month ago, when I got a little bit down. I had a little bit of a downswing. But even in the midst of that downswing, I was like, I still knew things were going to shift energetically. I knew get to December. If I needed to have extra rest, if I needed to, get any, anything out of the way in a sense, before things got challenging this month. If I needed to do that, then basically that was the time for that, right? That was the time for that before Thanksgiving period. And I knew once I hit Thanksgiving, it was going to be time to push. It was going to be time to work. And for me, one of the things for me is because I'm such an active person. I was just talking with one of my friends, Coach Carrie Odiatu, who works with me in my nutrition company, Isogenics. She was like, you got to tell people, they shouldn't expect workout 5 or 6 hours a day. And I'm like, you got to understand, I don't expect to work out 5 or 6 hours a day, but sometimes I need it. Sometimes that's my balance. Sometimes people are like, what do you do for fun? It's like, my girlfriend and I, we have a joke. It's like, I work out. That's what I feel joy doing. That's what feels like it's like the best use of my time. the thing is, when I'm training all the time, I might not appreciate it in the same way that I do when I'm working a lot. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm grateful for the work. I know a lot of people this year aren't working. I know a lot of people are having challenges, and I'm grateful for the opportunities, that I have right now, doing what I do. I'm grateful for the field that I ended up, kind of pursuing with in my career as a culinary professional, as a private chef, caterer. This is much needed, very beneficial work right now. So, in doing so, there's a great capacity for me to be expanding my business and all these things. So I got through, like I said, that kind of challenging period, keeping in mind that the challenge was going to bear fruit. And the period I talked about before Thanksgiving, but there was that was more like emotional, but just more recently, it's been more of a time challenge. So cooking a lot, doing a lot of culinary work takes a lot of time, not only in the kitchen, but in front of the computer. It takes up a lot of my energy to do physical things. But I've been pushing through that, and I've been finding those gaps in my schedule. Go to the park in the evening, go for a light run, take the dog out, do some shadow boxing, do some capoeira, do some calisthenics, go to like the little jungle gym, even if it's just 30 or 40 minutes. Like, I've been splitting up my workouts. I haven't been doing as much weight training, although I'm still incorporating that. It hasn't been as much of a focus as it was over the whole course of the quarantine. So basically, like, the way I look at all this is like this concept of Chrysalis, if I'm saying that correctly, Chrysalis. And Chrysalis is this period of it's really talked about usually with like a caterpillar, and I'm gonna tag some people on here, a caterpillar, and transitioning, metamorphosizing into a butterfly, right? So it's the period of its life when it goes into its cocoon, and it becomes, I believe it's the pupa, and maybe somebody who with some more scientific knowledge than myself can clarify some of these terms, some of these details, but that's basically a stage in its life cycle, before it's a butterfly. And I think in our lives as humans, we have periods of life. So I'm grabbing one of my favorite pieces of equipment. So I'm sitting on the floor here, and I'm gonna kind of move physically while I'm talking to you guys. It keeps me energized, it keeps my brain going. So, so there's periods of life that I think are similar to this, where one period of life is completed, and then we start to get into the next period, but we're not fully there yet either, right? So the next phase. So there's these transitions, and I think it's important to take stock of them. I think it's important in the moment, and be able to recognize, what are those different times, what are those different periods when you've gone through them before? What do they look like? What have they felt like? What similarities, what patterns do you see continuing to unfold, to happen again and again? Eat some of my chocolate here. Hold on. Wait for it. Mood boosting chocolate, still technically on a cleanse day. Using some products, just ramping up my brain. That's always my focus. I've been using this Whoop strap here. It's really interesting to see what it says about my daily strain and my daily recovery. sleep, how much sleep I need, how much sleep it recommends, how much sleep I get. And yesterday it was like, you're too strained and you're not enough recovered. You need to get a lot of sleep. And like I was saying, I went through this push, and yet today was my last night / today were my first days where I didn't have to be like on and cooking and running around and managing my clients, managing my business, getting ready for events I have coming up. Last night / today were my first, after I taught class last night, were my first moments just to bask for a second. Like I've been going hard, I've been grinding hard. Like I said, even Tuesday night, I finished some cooking. I went to the park. I went for a run with the dog. So making the most of my time, that's part of this stage. Because in any point in our life, we only have 24 hours, right? You can't say like, oh, I had more time when I was a kid. Well, no, you didn't. You had 24 hours. Or I had more time when I wasn't working. No, you didn't. Now you could say my time wasn't as occupied, right? My lifestyle was different. My focus was different. But I can't say that I had more than 24 hours in a day. So that's, I think when you start to get that, I started to get that early 30s. Really the first job that I had, the job that moved me out to Las Vegas, I remember when I was at that job, just like, I can't use my time how I want to. This structure of time doesn't work for me. It doesn't fit. And that was a problem for me. And I didn't last very long at that job. And it led to me eventually starting work for myself. But the point that it really hit me that job wasn't going to work was when we had an hour for lunch. You would go out, get lunch wherever you want, eat, take an hour. And I asked if I could go to the gym. I shouldn't have asked, but if I asked if I could go to the gym during my lunch break, and they were like, no. And I was like, well, I'll stay 10 minutes, late into my lunch break, and I'll come back 10 minutes early. So I'll really only take 40 minutes. Can I do that? Like, no. So, I started to appreciate my own time and learn to manage my own time. But really, not just that, but I sought out ways to create a lifestyle around my schedule. And that means that not my hourly schedule, I have to do this time, but more like, here's what I like to do. Here's how I like to, here's how I would prefer if I could design my ideal schedule. Now, like, ideally, of course, like, I'm sitting on a beach. Of course, ideally, I'm money is just flowing in and more of it, right? But that's built over time. Anyone who knows me, there were things that I talked about doing years ago that now I'm able to do, and it's my regular lifestyle. So, some of this is, and it continues to evolve, because what you want, what you're into, continues to change, right? You achieve something, and then you get to the next stage, and that isn't, it doesn't, you don't really feel the want, right? The want just continues to evolve itself, and you have to kind of manage that, right? Because you can't be completely unfulfilled forever. But at the same time, like I said, kind of basking, like today I'm basking in having a day off. Like, it's just glorious. I'm spending time in my playground here, my laboratory. Like I said, talking to you guys, this was something I was looking forward to, very honestly. And just sharing my thoughts, taking this time. I talked about this on one of the first videos that I did, that I think, some of these long form podcasts and this isn't like I'm giving you this exact tip or that exact tip. It's just me exploring my own process, my own thoughts, my own journey, my own evolution, right? Observations, some very more like a journal kind of, documentation, some more of a like scientific, like analysis, experimentation share. So just some different approaches. I think of this like being a modern day philosopher. I really do. So, that was kind of my first point I just wanted to make about, this stage of Chrysalis, if I'm saying that right. Chrysalis. So the second part was this idea of like structural integrity. So kind of going back what I was talking about with my training, I've been training pretty consistently, throughout quarantine, capoeira, MMA, but I was doing a lot of weight training for like a good part of like 7 or 8 months. I had a few weeks off in there for different reasons. But for the most part, I maintained that and, felt really good. But there were some small injuries that I sustained. There were some joints that weren't moving as freely as I would have liked. There was some like lagging, nagging stuff that, even if I trained 6-7 hours, I still can't hit everything. I still can't do everything. And choosing to do one thing and making one thing a priority, and this applies across all boards of life, but choosing one thing and making one thing a priority necessarily means not making something else that priority, right? So if I do something that kind of causes wear and tear on my joints and, is not conducive to being flexible and limber, then, my flexibility and my limberness are going to suffer, right? So even if I do the maintenance, right? But if I put my limberness and my flexibility, first, then I can do a little bit more in that area. I might not be, as strong, or I might not have as much muscle on me. So I'm kind of working on that transition as well, where I'm focusing on rebuilding some of that, like I call it structural integrity to my skeletal system, to my bones, to my joints, tendons, soft tissue. So, just continuing to do the work and having it not look a certain exact way all the time, which also can be challenging, right? It can also be challenging to say, I'm not going to follow this exact structure, or the structure that I was following previously, is no longer sufficing, right? That can happen. That does happen. That's really what change is, right? So kind of like I was talking about, the difficult periods were the change, right? That's change, and it can be, again, difficult more from like an emotional perspective, but things can also become, difficult more in the sense of, just again, time management, focus management, energy management. That can become emotional, right? But if you stay, especially for me, I find if I stay, committed to my best practices are huge. If I stay committed to my best practices, I can usually maintain, enough of that again, kind of like that structural integrity, that inner core of functionality, so that I don't get into an emotional state, right? And I don't get like overly worked up. I don't get overly tired. I don't get overly anxious. I don't get overly stressed. I don't get overly tired, worn out, exhausted. As long as I am aware of that. And a big part of that, guys, is making sure, even when I get busy, it may not be every day, it might not be as much, but making sure that I continue to do some activity, physical activity. Other day, you may have seen the pictures. I set up my gymnastics mat, big folding, like 8 foot or so gymnastics mat. Put that out in the driveway. Got some sun. Was hitting the weights. Felt so good. And even that night, I went for a run. So getting the body going, getting the body in motion, makes such a difference for the mental and just the overall reset, because it keeps all your systems functioning. I'm gonna sneeze. Much better. I'm good. No Rona. I killed that shit already 5 times. I swear, like, there's some of us who like had it 8 times and never had it. Bear with me. All right. So that's the second thing, is just creating that more structural integrity. I talked about that in the body, but I also mentioned best practices. So the best practices are another key part, because again, we're talking about that chrysalis state, right? Not fully formed. I'm not peaking right now. And on top of that, like, I'm literally, right, that week before up to Christmas, 10 days before, the 15th on, gonna be crazy, right? For me, gonna be crazy. And then, even the end of the year, hopefully gonna be pretty busy too. So, and I'm going right into January, like pushing right through January. So, there's no stop, but I'm in a little bit of a slowdown. Excuse me. And when I get in that slowdown, that's when I realize, okay, this is the point where I need to reinforce the physical machine, reinforce the nutrients, the supplementation, but then also reinforce the best practices, meditation, make my bed, floss my teeth, right? Like the simple, small stuff, journaling, getting on here, doing this, of course, continuing to do my work stuff, emails, etc. But, those are the things that I find for me help me just keep moving forward, right? One thing after the next. There's no, like if I have a downswing, like I said, it's not long. It doesn't take me out of the game. It doesn't totally throw me off. I don't miss stuff. It minimizes all those things. So that's why I go back to where's my, my mental function at? Where's my physical function at? Because I know if I do the work to maintain those things, even like the whoop strap, it's like you need to recover more. Let me show you guys this. It's on. I got Instagram on. I can't show you. Next time I'm on here without the Instagram. But it's like it literally says like this is your strain, this is your recovery that you need. And I kind of like I've only been wearing this thing not even a week, but I gave it credence. I was like, okay, like I'm gonna listen because I kind of also feel that, but I might have pushed through and just said like, fuck it, like I'm gonna go for it. Part of my language, I'm just like gonna push through. But knowing that I needed the extra recovery, I slept late. I took a nice long workout today. That felt great. And I'm taking some time for myself, restoring a little bit, and just reflecting. Strengthening that structural integrity, strengthening that internal stability, that internal core. So last point was, I've kind of talked about the the past, going through some challenges, downswing to the upswing, go through that. Then where I'm at now, this chrysalis stage, reinforcing, creating structural integrity, doing better time, energy, focus management. And then there's the next, right? What's next? It's that butterfly stage, right? Monarch butterfly, right? So next stage for me is definitely the vision for the end of this year, but that's going to be continued. I'm counting through the first week of January, up to the next stage, because that's when I'm going to really be restoring and recharging and refocusing. But really going into 2021, right? Really talking about next year's vision and the future. And my vision is, February 6th, God willing, February 6th, 2021, I will be turning 40. And, that's hard for me to believe, guys. That's really hard for me to believe. If I did some more skincare and I got rid of these bags under my eyes, I'd probably look even younger. But, I feel pretty good for 39. And if you've watched this video all the way to this point, I appreciate you. And I'll just share, a personal story. Because, sometimes I get on here, sometimes I'm silly, sometimes I'm high energy, sometimes I'm positive. I'm not usually too negative and not usually too like sappy or sad or that kind of stuff. But, I'll share some real stuff with you all that, 39 is an important age for me because 39, my mom was 39 when she passed away from complications with breast cancer. And my dad was 40. And that's an interesting, transition for me. This is it's like crazy. It's as far as my mom got. She had me and my sister, but she only made it this age. And I can't even imagine, it's like I appreciate my life so much more in a way because of that. And that's not it's not like happy to hear or anything, but it's true. I think I look at life differently. So I'm definitely thinking about my vision being 40 also, and just being an example of another level of fitness, another level of physical, what a physical machine can be at a certain age, or what we define it as. I'm not going to be, at this point, I'm not trying to be like super muscle guy. Like, I like to put on muscle, but I want to be limber. I want to be very functional. I want my body to be functional, be able to do what I want to do, to continue to be able to move in new ways that hasn't been able to move yet, do things it hasn't been able to do yet, evolve. I'm not done getting better. So, that's the way I look at it. And then just, with everything else in my life, continuing into next year to really take it. Help people. If this is helping you, if you're benefiting from these videos, please tell me. That's how I know. I get those messages every once in a while. Somebody will be like, your video really was beneficial. I loved your video, or I shared it with my friend, or, I'm so happy you shared this today. It was the perfect thing I needed to hear. And, that keeps me motivated. That keeps me inspired. That's really a lot of what I do it for. So, when this has impact, let me know. Tag me, share it, whatever. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I got to get moving on to the rest of my day. I'm going to keep it going, keep having an awesome day out there. Everyone, give me a shout, give me a holler. I'll be back soon. But again, I'm just kind of talking right now at this stage of Chrysalis, and continuing to have this next form, moving into it, and enjoying that, embracing that, and continuing to evolve. All right, peace. I will see you all soon. Blah blam. Kaz out.